When I was a junior in college, I lived in Los Angeles for a semester, and while I was out there, I got to work on a feature film. It's an indie film. It's called Lotus. I don't believe it's been released yet. I think it's still in post-production, but while I was on set, I met a bunch of cool people, including a guy named Cesar, full name Cesar Fiongongora. Cesar sent me a short film he recently made. It's the first episode of a web series based off the Wolfenstein franchise. And I don't know anything about Wolfenstein, but I know that Cesar is a chill guy. So I wanted to check out his video, and Marsh and I reviewed it.
All right, so Wolfenstein is a very hit video game series that is based on if Nazi Germany had won the Second World War. And this game is like your Doom, your Halo, your platform shooters. And we follow, in the first game, Alan Blazkowicz. In this mini-series, or this web series that he's producing, we follow the son, which is the protagonist of the second game. And we're seeing him get interviewed by Ken von Herman, basically about his reign of terror that he did in the second game, because he, in the second game, got this close to actually killing the Fuhrer. Ooh. Crazy he's still alive in the 1980s when the game actually takes place. I know this miniseries takes place in 1964.
Maybe he fled to Argentina.
Very well could have happened. But I really did like the way that he portrayed this. I like that he actually kept it game accurate to the way they actually changed the Nazi symbol from your standard swastika to the kind of ninja three triangle kind of thing. I thought that was really cool.
I did notice
and
that.
Also the acting in this was just god tier. He actually sounded so much like the character that is in the video game. It just blew me away.
And I want to put it for the record that we are in no way paid or endorsed by Cesar to talk about this. This is just something fun that we're doing. If you guys
this is something that we're doing on our own right. No sponsorship, no nothing.
Yeah, if you guys have a short film you're interested in submitted that you want Marsh and I to talk about, feel free to message us through our social medias. I felt like the lighting in this was pretty solid, but the one weak spot was during the climax when William attacks the Nazi, and there are these, quote, unseen guards. They're called the Unseen. They come out of the shadows, but it just seems a little too dark. I feel like I like the idea that we don't know who's lurking in the shadows, but I feel like for the sake of the choreography, it could have been lit a little better.
I agree, but Lucas, if you actually did end up like watching any scenes from these video games, this is actually too goddamn accurate, because there are plenty of scenes when you're sneaking around through Nazi encampments and it is just pitch black.
Oh, it's purposeful.
You literally have to it's purposeful. You have to go into the game, activate your flashlight on your gun to just see these guys.
That's sick. I feel like the one part that I really liked, and this is the first episode of a series, so they're going to elaborate on this a little bit more, but there is a VFX in it that's pretty good, where the Nazi gives him this sort of, I don't know what the device is called, but it like flashes the protagonist's daughters, and he basically threatens to kill them.
Yeah, and something cool about those daughters, for anyone who has actually played the Wolfenstein series, those are the protagonists of the third and final installment of the game.
Really? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so he's got potential.
Yeah, because this is actually building a really nice bridge between the second game and the third game and the final installment, because there was kind of this, like, how do I word this? There was kind of like this just gray area for the game's story between the end of the second game and the beginning of the third game. So I like that he's actually trying to build this bridge, and I wish Wolfenstein, the creators of it, who actually just dropped a new game, Indiana Jones, I really wish they would actually like notice this, because this was really well done in my opinion.
I also feel like it can be enjoyed by people like me who have no familiarity with Wolfenstein. I was able to gather that this was a version of the world where the Nazis win, the mention of the Fuhrer. I feel like the dialogue perfectly sort of gives us enough context without spelling it out. You can also sort of infer based off the costumes, based off the acting. Some of it could definitely be a little tropey at times. I feel like the whole you lay a hand on them, I swear I'm gonna, like that whole thing. It's about what you'd expect, but it's paying homage to an existing IP. It's very commercial in that sense, and I feel like it does what it wants to do well.
Absolutely. And another cool thing that I thought was really really dope and very what would it be, game accurate, is if you noticed when the two guards that were in the shadows came like up behind him to attack him.
Yeah.
When he threw the second one on the table and he stabbed him in the back, that is the exact animation that you get in games. So he was just doing a lot of fan service, and I loved every second of it.
Damn.
Lucas, I have a question to ask you.
Yeah.
What do we rate this first?
No, I'm not. I'm not rating short films. No, as much as
come on.
As much as I love rating short films on Letterboxd, even though I feel like I shouldn't, I'm not gonna like judge. I'm not gonna quantify other filmmakers' work if it's on this scale.
All right. I respect it. Personally, I give this a 4.
That's good. That's great. Yeah, it's definitely very well made. You can, I believe they're sending this out to film festivals, if I'm not mistaken. It is based off of an existing franchise, but everything aside from the characters is original. Like the acting's original, the sound, the cinematography, all the materials in it is original. So
I can't wait to see if he makes an episode 2 on this. I'm actually interested to follow up on it.
Yeah, we'll post a link in the description. You can check out Wolfenstein: Legacy of Defiance, a fan film. It is on Wolfenstein: Echoes of Liberation. You can find that on YouTube.
All right, well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Roll Credits. This week, we are reviewing the hit film Braveheart. Lucas, take it away.
I'm not as familiar with this film because war movies, especially war movies that take place before, I would say, the Industrial Revolution, I'm not really a big fan of them just because I'm selfish in what I like to watch. I typically prefer movies with settings that I can relate to. I feel like that's why.
More modernized settings.
Yeah, urban-based films. I'm not as big, even though I live in a rural community, rural films I'm not as big into. But sci-fi films like 2001, I feel like I'm just drawn to technology more. But that all being said, I got rid of my cynicism because it is a good movie. It's a really fun watch.
Yeah, this movie absolutely blew me away. Mel Gibson had no idea he directed this. I thought he was just the lead actor in it. That really blew me away. Personally, his character, absolutely impeccable storytelling from him, first off, kind of, being this kind of just like grunt fucking person of the town, to then becoming almost kind of like a war hero for this town, then to get what he wants in a loving wife, and then to see that loving wife get taken right away from him.
Yeah.
Because obviously this is set in, I believe it was 1620 AD is when this movie is set there in place.
This takes place in, the movie starts in 1280, and it ends in 1314. Yeah. It's way earlier in like the Middle Ages.
Okay. Well, slightly different time, but we watch his wife, just walking through the town, and then we see a couple of the King's Guards, because this is during the time when Scotland is still kind of being run by England, and we see a couple English King's Guardmen go up to her, kind of crowd her, and then begin to rape her. So then she tries fighting back, and in return, she ends up getting put on a post and seeing her throat get slit.
I think one of the strongest parts about that is the context. I feel like it's not only a personal stake in the war. It's not just, these guards just randomly attacked my wife. No, they're allowed to. It's established at the start of the film. King Longshanks, King Edward I, he decrees that in Scotland, any lords, I believe the phrase is, I'm going to botch it, jus prime noctis, right of the first night. Any lord can basically rape any woman they want to without consequence.
That's crazy, and I didn't even notice that when they were talking all about that kind of stuff.
So it ties in.
Going on.
Yeah, it ties in his relationship status with Marin. He married her in secret. His motivation to destroy the king is very personal, because not only did Longshanks kill his father, he then indirectly raped and killed his wife.
Yeah, and it's absolutely screwed up that we see him go through all this pain and all this suffering and still be able to just be a soldier to his own cause. I think that is ungodly admirable, and I wish that, more people could kind of be like that.
And that's what makes it fiction, you know? This is a very good example of sort of the folk hero, the people they tell about in epic tales of yesteryear. I think one of my favorite parts about William Wallace as a character is that there's a recurring theme about the mind. He is told by his uncle when he's first picked up after his father's massacred to focus on the brain, brains over bronze. And even though William obviously has got to be a hottie to draw in popcorn, to draw in people in the theaters,
Of
he still is all about being smart. And we see that in the battles. He is strategic. He guides his army men to seemingly desert the battle and then sneak around the back to attack the British. And it isn't until pretty much the climax of the film where he is held hostage by the English, it's pretty much over, England has won, that he acquiesces and he allows himself to go a bit more feeble-minded by accepting the drink from Princess Isabel. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I just thought that it was a very interesting thing how his story ends when he decides to give up his smarts.
Well, see, I don't know if you noticed this, Lucas, during that whole scene, but he endured all that pain that he went through because when he drank that drink from the princess, I don't know if you noticed, the second she left the cell, he spit that out.
Oh my God! How did I miss that? Oh, that's sick. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's even cooler. I thought it was like a tragedy of, okay, well, he gave up, so then he faces the consequences. But no, this is a character who has the option constantly throughout this film to take the easy way out, but he never does. He always goes the righteous way. He stands by his convictions.
Yeah, he stands by his cause, and I can't do anything but respect it. What I thought was really, really screwed up is, oh my God, what is his name? Let me look at the cast list quick. Oh my God, who is he? It was the dude that betrayed him in the second battle. I can't think of his fucking name. Oh my God, who is it? Scottish Mo.
Probably
Angus
Robert.
McFadden. Yeah, as Robert the Bruce. Yeah. The actor is Angus McFadden. Okay, yeah. He really threw me through an entire whirl of emotions because he kind of seems like William's right-hand man in a lot of the battles that he's doing, and then out of nowhere, he flips because his own father gets into it, or I guess one of his fathers gets into his ear about, protecting your family, protecting your land, and securing the crown of Scotland. And he just can't seem to make up his own mind on it because once he actually betrays William in the battle, he realizes where he screwed up, and then he tries to make right, and then his own noblemen betray him by capturing William.
It reminds me a lot of congressional members secretly disagreeing with Trump's policies, but still publicly going with it anyway because they know they will benefit politically.
Of course they will, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I love that a movie from 1995 about literal Scottishmen and Englishmen going at it can be transcribed into what goes on today. But with a lot of films you can do that, but this to me was just kind of mind-boggling.
I'm not surprised that you really like this film because I feel like it has a lot of traits that you're really into. One thing is the idea of losing a father or the father-son dynamic. You see that in Red Dead 2. You see that in Star Wars, some of your favorite media. But also you're going against a larger government entity, just like Star Wars, where it's sort of a young noble hero against all odds. He doesn't necessarily defeat the British, but he gives them a new hope. Wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge. Yeah, I absolutely love what movies can do as far as a storytelling point, and this hit across the board for me. And also the cinematography and the score that it had, both very, very well done. Now, Lucas, what did we think about the antagonist?
I thought he was great. He's just a ruthless dictator, but, well, dictator's a strong word. I don't really know if we see him act like a dictator, but he is authoritarian by nature. You'd think that a character who is as stagnant and constant as Longshanks, you'd think that he would be uninteresting and boring. No. I think a lot of what makes him a good character is just, and forgive me if I mispronounce his name, but the great late Patrick Joseph McGowan, he really brought a lot of vibrancy, a lot of personality to this character that could have otherwise been very boring because it's a line when your characters aren't really that dynamic.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. Personally, something I thought that was really interesting about his whole character development is right as you see this dude win, you see him get what he wants in capturing and being able to torture William. He loses his ability to speech.
It's so good. It's so good.
And then I know I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit,
You're
but
good.
once you hear William flail out freedom as his final breath before his head gets cut off, I love that even though his character wasn't able to speak a single word, you could tell just by the way in his face and his eyes that he had lost in his moment of thought triumph.
But he still won at the end of the day. He still remains defiant. They can never overcome the spirit. They overcame everything else.
No, they can't.
I feel like you talk about the cinematography. I really miss films that were shot on film because I notice with digital films, especially, I think I went to watch Megalopolis after this, which was a huge mistake, but seeing something on digital where it just looks like we're in some sort of simulation, there's like a sheen to it, there's a fakeness to it. Whereas the film medium, the physical film medium, it just looks so much more beautiful. And that's something I noticed when watching American Beauty. That's something I noticed when watching this. I feel like I was more immersed by the fights between the different people, the British Army and the Scottish Army, just because of how gorgeous film as a material is.
Yeah, and them actually recording on actual places compared to it just being a scene or like
That's true.
a set, more or less.
Yeah, no green
Because
screen.
I don't know if you noticed this, Lucas, but this is actually filmed in Scotland.
Yeah,
Believe it or not.
yeah, I figured. I thought the sets were obviously like very beautiful.
Now, obviously, like the houses and stuff, those were created because I doubt there's still houses with straw roofs and stone in Scotland, or at least I hope not.
You don't know. You've never seen. People have never been to our
I mean,
hometown.
I've never been to Scotland, so I can't say.
What do you think about the antagonist? How does he compare to some of the great villains of your favorite movies?
How does he compare to some of the great villains? I think, personally, the one thing that I can bash on him for, his acting was impeccable. His ability to just make you hate him is, bar none, very comparable to a lot of the other villains of all time in the film industry. But my one complaint I had with it, that he did not have enough screen time for me to actually, give him the nod to be, even in the top 10, per se.
That's fair. Yeah, he definitely doesn't get... There could have been more development and more nuance with him.
Absolutely. Now, granted, I mean, obviously, we're seeing him towards the end of his reign. We see he's an old fuck. And obviously, at the end of the movie, we see him basically on his deathbed.
Yeah.
But I wish we could have seen him in I guess, like a younger light, kind of like maybe 10 years before, the events with William Wallace. I feel like that would have been kind of nice to see, but I can't also, say that because then I also might have not seen where the direction of the movie went if they showed that.
A plus two, it is based off the First War of Scottish Independence, so they only had so much room to sort of bend the narrative since it's based off a historical event.
Oh yeah, definitely. So Lucas, what did we think about the battles?
The battles were great. Like I said, I love how we see William try to convince his army squadron to listen to him, even though they don't trust him, and then he earns his knighthood after I would argue, the most important battle of the film, which is when William sort of proves himself as the Scottish warrior.
Yeah, that's the first battle, I believe, right?
Yeah.
When he's sitting there for almost a full minute, just screaming, "Hold, hold!" Lucas, I hate it. I hate that I have to bring this up. I really do hate it. But do you want to know where I first saw this movie from?
Please say it ain't so, Marsh.
Oh,
Turbo,
say
right?
It is fucking so. No, I saw it from fucking Family Guy.
He keeps doing that. He can't keep getting away with it. He can't keep
So
getting away with it.
what are we at now? Are we at 4? Are we at 5? What's the counter? I think we're at 5.
I'm pretty sure. I think this might be 4, because what was it? Singing in the Rain twice, I feel like. Yeah, there's 2 references to Singing in the Rain, American Beauty, and then this. And then obviously Star Wars, but we know Star Wars. That doesn't count.
Yeah. We don't count Star Wars.
No, everyone knows Star Wars. we're gonna have to get a counter going. We're gonna have to go back and fact check.
Yeah, we are.
Can we talk about the arrows? How ruthless the arrows look?
Oh my god, yeah. No, the arrows looked absolutely ruthless, especially when you saw them enter somebody, because they're not like your standard arrow where you can kind of just like, if you never, hopefully no one's ever getting hit by an arrow in this day and age.
I hope not.
At least I'd hope not. But these are, I'm assuming they're made out of flint, sticks, and feathers, considering the time frame.
Yeah.
And these things are just ruthless because most modern day arrows have kind of like a mechanism to where you can pull it out cleanly. These do not.
Ooh.
These do not at all.
Ooh. Yikes.
These are just straight stone to the chest. Have fun picking this thing out later. There's a good chance you might die of infection, but you know, you live to fight the day, I guess, as long as you don't get hit in a vital area.
Bring it back. I'll bring that back. I'll save a bunch of money.
I also liked a lot with this movie how they kind of kept the visual effects of gore at least somewhat realistic. Now, granted, I know this film was from the 1990s, so I can see why the budget of this movie is absolutely insane. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you've looked into that.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I like that they actually kept the gore somewhat realistic with the kind of weapons that they were using. Because I don't know if you noticed this. In the first battle, I watched a dude's head get straight up demolished, and it looked like a watermelon splitting from a sledgehammer.
Oh my god. Yeah, it was.
They
really
did
good.
absolutely impeccable with the attention to detail on the gore, the type of weapons that are being used during this era. I was really happy that they kept it original with that, and also just the amount of tactics that went on throughout the battles that we saw, like the absolutely barricaded ram horn that they used to break down the wall in York.
That's such a good scene.
Or them actually pouring hot tar onto people.
That's so good.
And then them using that back on the Englishmen in the final battle in Falkirk when they poured it across the field and then waited for them to charge to then kind of build that firewall.
It was so cool. All came full circle. Yeah, you can get creative. I feel like that's something that's lost with modern war. There isn't much of an art to it, if there is such a phrase.
No, there really isn't. In most modern art with war, it's just guns, explosions, and, you know, occasionally we'll hear the nuke word get tossed around. But other than that, there's not really much.
Yeah. What did you think about the ending?
The ending threw me through a little bit of a whirl, I won't lie.
Oh, yeah?
I was happy to see the redemption arc of, let me pull his name up again, Robert the Bruce. I was really happy to see his redemption arc occur, that he was able to rally the troops into battle once again to basically kind of give his nod to William that he was sorry and therapeutic about what he did, and he knew he was wrong, so he figured that this was his way to make it up to them.
Actions speak louder than words in screenwriting. Always.
Absolutely. And I also love that in William's last breath, he did get to see his wife again. One thing I do want to bring up, though, is that I get his wife is dead, right? And I get that, you know, these visions that he's seeing are kind of like in his head, more or less, as far as what I'm understanding. I'm surprised his wife isn't pissed that he porked the princess.
I mean, she tells him in the dream to move on. She tells him you got to move on.
That is such a good point. Oh my god, I totally forgot.
Also, too, in a way, you can argue that Wallace is fucking over England, literally.
Yeah, in a way you can, because that son that he's going to have with the princess does have a right to the throne at some point.
So William inadvertently just created a new royal bloodline.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely insane that we go from seeing him kind of just like blowing off steam, and in return, he ends up screwing over a whole nation.
I don't know if it's even... I feel like it's more intentional than that, too. I think he obviously knew what he was doing when he was, quote, blowing off steam. Like, it was very much a steam ship on its way to do some deliveries.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Another thing I really liked with this was how they kind of kept going on about like that little piece of cloth that William
Oh,
carried
that was a good
with him
motif.
throughout the entire film.
Yeah,
I don't know what the exact name of that
it's like
is.
a
Like what
handkerchief or
that
something.
yeah. It's called a handkerchief. I just like that was kind of like uh almost like the reset point for like every like major plot point in the movie. Like whenever you saw a major plot point occur, this thing always get pulled out and then we moved on to the next section.
Ooh, I did not notice that. I noticed it like thematically, like representing Moron, but I did not notice that it was sort of like a structural device as well. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah. This movie really does everything well. I can't personally say much this movie did wrong,
I
in my
agree.
opinion.
I absolutely agree. I feel like this satisfies sort of the norms that commercial audiences want when they're going to the theater. They have a reason to care for this character because of the personal losses that he faces from the antagonist. We have a personal reason to root for them to go through their journey. Even though he is a mass murderer, we still support him because we're walking through his perspective. He's human. We develop empathy for him. Everything's well shot. Everything's well acted. The score is great. I don't really have a problem with it. I'm feeling a 4 on this one. I really love this one.
All right, all right. I respect that. Personally, I'm giving it a 4.5.
There we go. Very strong. So looking at the rankings, the top 5 currently is Reservoir Dogs, Joker, American Beauty, Come and See, and 2001. Where do you think we should put Braveheart?
I want to put it 5, but like I'm also not mad at us putting it at 6. I'm gonna go flip a coin.
Or flipping a coin? I'm fine with it being below Joker. I feel like
You're
Joker.
fine with it being below Joker?
Yeah. I feel like I
All right,
like
yeah.
Joker more than Braveheart.
We'll slot it in at 5.
All right, now it is number 5, Braveheart. Next week, we're going to be talking about Old Boy from 2003, directed by Park Chan-wook. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. After being kidnapped and imprisoned for 15 years, Oh Dae-soo is released, only to find that he must track down his captor in 5 days. Should be a riveting time.
All right, sweet. Another movie. All right, well, to everybody watching, please go follow our Instagram and also go follow me on Twitch. And to anyone watching, peace out.